There we go. There he is. So these hopefully all look familiar to you guys in that they feel like outfits that Drake would wear. They feel true to the person that he is. He is already established. He has kind of an established look, having existed through 3 different games already. And these are just base outfits. So we're looking for kind of what's the foundation of his costume going to be. So none of these are the final piece, but they're all kind of, pieces were taken out of them. And, we had discussions about, we know that we're visiting Drake when he's been out of the game for a while, so that may mean some passage of time. How can we reflect that in his clothing? Is he still just running around in jeans and a white t-shirt, or has he evolved a little bit beyond that? Doing all right? Just click here. Same sort of thing with the holster design and pouches. Anything that we were going to stick on Drake, we really wanted it to be very simple, and again, to not distract from the head model, the actor's performance, the mood of the scene. So we did explore some different things. You can see, like, the second one especially is really complex, and it's interesting, and it's kind of cool, and it'd probably be fun to cosplay, but, we didn't go with that because it didn't serve the function that we needed, which was to create, a very filmic, cinematic game with filmic and cinematic characters. So here's our final Drake. This is what we went for. We were looking for something that felt like an adventure. To me, there's some Indiana Jones laced in here. It may not be obvious where exactly, but it definitely has that feeling to me. We settled on a really simple holster, really simple pouch, and then, we get to accumulate cool things throughout the game, guns and stuff like that. So, he does get some more add-ons, but even with that stuff, we were really focusing on how do we keep those things subtle and really not have them steal the scene. When Drake is having a serious conversation with somebody, do you really want to be focusing on, a big neon thing strapped to him or whatever it would be, grenade? So I'm gonna go ahead and pass it off to Colin, because at this point, once we have an approved concept, I'm going to be working with Colin and passing him finalized concepts, as well as reference pictures of materials and whatever I can help him with so that he can turn this into, what you end up seeing in the game.
Hey guys. So I think, as Ash mentioned, one of the challenge of this guy was to upgrade him or update him from the previous game. And for me particular, it was the outfit. It's not right. For me in particular, it was the clothing, and how do I update a legacy character and make it feel more natural and just more natural in general. One of the challenges for that was definitely, in the past, we had to sculpt these things by hand, and we still kept a lot of that sculpting by hand, but what we did was we incorporated a new program called Marvelous Designer. What that allowed is, it allowed for us to get really natural draping on characters, and I think even before I get into this stuff, the first thing we did actually was we would get a concept sheet describing the materials and a reference sheet, I should say, describing the materials and all the properties of his fabric.
Like, here's the wrinkle that I want. This wrinkle, Colin. Sculpt this wrinkle in this picture.
Yeah, or like what level of distress should the clothing be? Is it really dirty or is it like muddy? And this stuff obviously is also taking into consideration later stages, of the game where he will be sliding around and running through jungle and getting dirty and messy. And all that is not in this slide, but we do have a reference sheet where we get a lot of that stuff laid out. So yeah, I would then take that and I would basically start modeling the character. So as you can see here, I modeled like his holster and his shirt and all his pouch and his pants and everything, and we just kept going back and forth in terms of, is this the right feel for Drake? Does this, is it form-fitting enough? Is it too baggy? Like, we went through a ton of iteration where, you know, it was too loose or certain folds just didn't feel like Drake. Even the half tuck was a definite challenge, you know, to get right, because we had to take in consideration, you know, is it the right shape? Is it stuff like that. Is really interesting. So from that, I then take this into our sculpting program, and I added a lot of wrinkles, and I made it more high res. You know, I added, you know, all the little details, like the on the holster you have like the little holes, and you know, just everything in general to try and get the materials to feel right. So here a thing that we did also was that you don't see a lot of detail in terms of the fabric detail, and that's because we had another process that came on board like as we were developing Uncharted 4 in general. In the past, we would normally put a lot of the fabric detail and stitching in the actual sculpt, high-res sculpt, but instead this time we decided to do it through shaders, which gave us higher res textures, it gave us higher res fabric details and stitches that we couldn't have in the past. So here's more shots of the clothing. And this is his full body. And again, you can kind of see like we took in consideration the folds on his clothing. And, you know, is it too tight? Is it the right, you know, level of detail for Drake in terms of like, does these folds fold weird in certain areas, and just things like that. Like even the fold on the back of his shirt was intentional. And if you look back, if I could go back on the original concept, like a lot of that stuff was defined in the concept, and we took that into consideration.
We're very concerned with folds. A lot of our time is spent talking about folds.
Also, when we're doing this, we need to take consideration because for the later pipeline, it will be rigging.
Yeah.
And
yeah, absolutely. So rigging, which he'll get into later, we have to consider certain things like, are these folds, because initially this had a lot of folds around the knee area, and we have to take in consideration, you know, what that would look like once he start bending and moving around. So, and around the arms, and just in general, everything had to work for a rigger, which is the next person in the pipeline. So let me move on to another. So here I'm showing actually some of the details on the stitches that I mentioned earlier. Our shader artists actually did a lot of that, but we as character artists had to set up the models to make sure it's able to do that. But you can see like we have a lot of control in this, how small the stitches are in general. You see here.
Before, if we really compare with last gen, how did they do their texture work? All this detail, they will basically paint it into the diffuse, which is the color map.
Right.
And for the next gen stuff, we'll be able to get more detail because we can basically separate that in a very small map.
Right.
And it's tieable as well. So, go ahead.
Right. Yeah. So a lot of that stuff we were definitely able to handle in shader as opposed to sculpting it into the high res, and that helped a lot to maintain from as it goes in game to cinematic, the same level of detail. So nothing drops in terms of detail level once it gets into the game. So I'll go on to the next slide. And this was definitely represented all over. Like you can see on the holster, we have stitches along, you know, and our shader artist will get into more how she went along making that stuff, but. Showing some more images of that.
This is in Maya, actually. In game, it will look better.
Yeah, this is actually in Maya, which is our 3D package. But when it goes in the game, should look more like this. And this is, you know, what the final result of, you know, her shading on the clothing and the modeling that you saw earlier. All the stitches. It's stuff that you don't really see at this level, but once, you know, the camera gets close up on the character, you'll be able to see all that small fidelity. And it helps from a distance, I think, too, just in general. So from here, I'll pass it over to Frank, who handled a lot of the facial sculpting on Drake and all that stuff. So.
Hey guys, so my job, basically, my task for Drake's is I overseeing and help developing the final look of Drake. And mainly, Colin is helping and focus on the outfit part of Drake. And at the meantime, I was doing the facial sculpting, the expression, the wrinkles, and the arms as well. And we all work on the hair together. So this is one of our render in our game engine, just a screenshot. But I can't really zoom in right now. But if I zoom in, you guys can see all the detail on his outfit, holster, skin pores on his face as well. So today I'm going to show you guys, first I'm going to show you guys the detail of the arms that we sculpt and the texture on the top and the final in-game shots of the arms. And also we did different poses because sometimes when you bend your wrist or you holding your fist, like your knuckles will pump out, all that kind of detail, we need to put it on a different map. So when Drake's actually punching people or holding a fist, you can show more detail on the top of it. And then I'm going to show you guys how did I upgrade the Uncharted 3 Drake to Uncharted 4. We will have like a side-by-side compare, and you guys can be the judge of it if he really looks like Drake or not. And then we'll show you guys the detail, how do we sculpt from the base mesh of the head to all the skin pores, wrinkles that we have. And I will show you guys as well the wrinkle, actually the expression and wrinkles on the top of the, there will be 2 videos that I'm going to show you guys. And finally, I will show you guys the promotion shots of the E3 Drake that we did a while ago. So let's start it with the detail of the arm. I just click. Okay. So we're sculpting all this in a program called ZBrush. ZBrush help us we can basically do all the detail that we want. You can see like all the skin pore, all the veins that we have. This is just a sculpting shot, and without any color on the top of it. So you can see what I mean by when you're holding a fist, the knuckle part will pump out a little bit more, and when you get it flat, you can see all the veins, like this part, like the bone part on the top of it. And when you bend your wrist, you can see like the wrinkle just folded on the top of the skin. Let's go to the next one. So this is one of our just in-game, we just basically imported our arms in-game and put the maps in. For sure, Yibing did a fantastic job on the skin. So this is one of our final result of Drake's arm. And this is another close shot. You can even see like the detail that we put on, like around his fingernail is some crack, there's some damage. We try put all the detail in to show you guys the environment and the mood he's being in. And this is kind of our final render for the Drake arm. And you can see we will be able to even put all the arm hair on the top of it. And for the rigging side, Ryan, who's our lead rigger, will show you guys more interesting stuff on the hair, how the hair moving and stuff. So next, I'm going to show you guys, focus on the head of Uncharted 4 Drake. So this is just one of the render, but this you can kind of see what kind of detail can we get, and the anatomy improvement on the top of it. And okay, you can also see all the details on the hair, the eyebrows, and the stubble, the beard that we can be able to put in. Here is just a comparison with Uncharted 3 to Uncharted 4 Drake. This is just flat lighting. There's really no lighting in Maya. So you can see with no lighting, they both have no lighting. You can see the differences between these two. Obviously, I hope you guys will think Uncharted 4 Drake look more natural, look more realistic. But I'm going to talk about how did I, and here's some screenshot of just the sculpting part comparison. So you can see before Uncharted 3, we have some really sharp angle like on the nose part, on the brow bone and all that stuff. And in order to make a more realistic Drake, we need to basically smooth it out. But at the same time, we need to consider that when we upgrade Drake, he still need to feel like Drake. He is already established character. He has his own feeling. He has own acting. You know, he has his own voice. You guys know him maybe better than us, since you guys are all fans. So at the same time, if we want to upgrade him, we need to basically take all this into consideration, and we cannot get too far away from the original model. And this is the challenging part, because I know this from a lot of other games. A lot of people, a lot of big studios are doing scans for their main characters. But it's not like we can do scans for Drake, because he's not a real person. We cannot actually just go out and grab someone and say, oh, you look like Nathan Drake, can we scan you and just make it him like our main character? We cannot do that. So what we do instead is, and we also want to keep our artistic feeling on how to sculpt models. We always want to that artists do their best instead of like just scanning stuff. So that's the other reason that we kind of just don't really want to use scan. Even if we use it, it's just for references, because when you really study like a scan head, you can actually see a lot of anatomy on the top of it. So that's basically what we did. And there's more comparison shots. You can see from different angle, although he's an improved version, but at the same time, he still need to feel like he's Nathan Drake. So we try to keep his feature and everything the same, or not too far away from the old model. And that's actually the most challenging part for me. And more screenshots. Here is how I kind of show you guys. We started from the really base mesh. So this is all pretty low res. You can see like all the square stuff on his face. So this all low res. And after this, we started putting like the secondary shape. We call it secondary shape basically your anatomy on your muscle part on your head to make it more real. So, and it will be more smooth as well. So that will be the next part. And the next stage will be just putting all the wrinkles, small skin details, skin pores on the top of it, which will be this. And then after this, we kind of just color on the top of it. So this will be the color version. Of course, you guys will see there's some cut of his forehead, because we wanted him to feel like he's wetter, he's older, he's been through a lot as well. And the next one will be this one of just screen grab from the in-game screenshot. That's the final fidelity, the look, the detail that we'll be able to put it on Drake. But this is a black and white one, and I'm going to show some color as well. But I just want to remind you guys, this is what we called a stage lighting room for the characters. Basically, this is basically like a perfect lighting for us to show off our model. But you guys might notice in game, there will be different lighting situations, so you probably won't be able to see all the detail that he has under those situations. So here's the color shot, and at different angle. So you can see all the detail that we'll be able to put on the top of it. And different lighting test. So right now, we're going to show how do we do the wrinkle map on the top of it. So we'll show some expressions, and can we play the video, please? Okay, so you guys can see it's making some expressions, but at the same time, you guys can see how do we do, like for example, like the brown, like nose wrinkler that's kind of angry face that we called. You'll be able to put, we need to put all the wrinkles in between to make it feel more natural. And when you smile, you will have really a lot of wrinkles on the top of it. You guys seem really enjoying the expression. Anyway, this is kind of showing off how do we, like what kind of detail in the wrinkles that we put it on the top of a model. So when the Drake make the same situation, like same expression, you guys will see all the wrinkles on the top. Now, can we play the next video? So this is actually just in-game. So you guys will be able to see all the detail, sculpting detail, the wrinkles will be transferred into the game that we have. You can see brow rays now. You can see all the, the wrinkles on the top of it. Okay, can we go back to the PowerPoint? Thank you. So the last one, I'm going to show you guys the promotion shots of the E3 trailer Drake that we especially made for the jungle Drake that we call. So as I said, from the start, Ashley helped a lot from the concept, and then we decide an expression on the top, and we post it, and then we add all the detail on the top to make him feel that we want him to feel. Like you can see, he's more aged, it's been some time, he has some bruise on the top of it, some dirty part, and sweaty, all the sand on the top, you guys can feel it.
And chest hair.
And chest hair, you guys can see that. More close shots. More close shots. As you guys can see, we'll be able to put like even the sweating feeling on the top of his forehead, which Yibing helped a lot. So at final, I'm going to show you guys the video that we'll be able to put out just for we call it the turntable of the next gen Drake. Can we play the video, please? And the next, we'll just give it to the very talented shading artist, Yibing Jiang. She will break down all the materials of next gen for you guys. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Yibing. I'm working for all the shaders for Nation Drake. And before I started to tell you guys what shading is, actually, I'm trying to ask you guys a question. Have any of you guys heard of the word texture? Raise your hand. Well, a lot of smart people. So any of you guys heard the word shading? Raise your hand. Seriously? Really? Okay, anyone can tell me what shading is? Okay.
She'll tell you.
Okay, 大概. Close, yeah. Yeah.
I would say shading is adding depth to something. That's my easiest bottom line answer because that's really what it is. You're creating a shape.
Adding
Shape?
depth through something.
Depth?
Adding depth, sense of shape.
Kind of. Yes. How the lighting react with the material and make it look realistic. Okay, I want to show you guys a video which demonstrate how the shading artists work in Naughty Dog. Can we play the first video? You can see some changes happening. We add a lot of stuff to make it look worse. Yeah, they were perfect before. When the video play the second time, I can actually demonstrate what we put it on. That's perfect. Yeah. Okay, we start with really simple shader. It look like plastic, and we make it look like fabric, and it's go too fast. We add some sand, add some agents, add some details, stitches. Oh. Yeah, do you notice the land actually changed too? Like the mud, the water, and the sand, the dirt, the stitches. The same fabric details aging, the sand, the dirt, the stitches. Okay, we add some subsurface. Look at the eyes, the reflection and the shadow of the reflection. Okay, we can stop the video now. Can we go back to the PowerPoint? Thank you. Not this one. Next one. Oh. Sorry.
Oh, no.
I don't know it. Click.
Go down. I will click for you.
In order to get movie quality, we need physical-based shader. So now I can answer the question what shading is. Oh, I did answer before, I forgot. Oh, okay. I can answer the question like what's the difference between shading and texturing? And why last gen game didn't look like movie. You can see on the screen there are two pictures on each side. They're both taken in the same area, but the camera is facing the different angles. One is facing the sun, another one is not facing the sun. You can see the difference between the picture on the left and the picture on the right. Basically, your eyes is telling you what is look real, what is not when you rotate. For example, I'm facing the sun, his face look different. When I'm not facing the sun, if he's here, well, basically your brain can tell what is real, what is not, but the color of those images changes when the sun changes and when the time of day changes or when the camera angle changes. But for the last gen, the texture artists just paint those colors, what they saw on the textures, without consider what's the differences of like facing the sun or the camera angle or all those things. And this gen, because PlayStation 4 is more powerful, powerful. So we can actually add those calculations, which is really, really smart stuff. Yeah. there's a bunch of rules about shaders. Over the year, there's a lot of really smart people dealing with it, like reflection, refraction, Fresnel effect, microfacet, and subsurface. I didn't know people actually take a picture of this. I thought you guys would think it boring, so if you guys think it's cool, I will add more stuff like this.
Down, Frank.
No? Yeah.
Frank.
Up, then.
Okay. So in order to achieve the movie look, we have to reproduce all the shaders in our engine as close as real life. Nowadays, the movies, like the CGI movies, looks pretty much like real life. Why is it so hard for game? It's because I work in movie before for like 3 years, and I know in movie they have like really powerful render farm. Some big movie studio have like that big of the room with all the machines, and then render all together for like 5 hours for one frame. But like for game, we have one console, and we have to render real time. Like when you play, it's render. So in order to achieve the real life look, it means we have to pick the most considered decision, like how we can achieve that. It's totally different from movies. And the point we have to consider is, you know those stuff I just showed, the graph I showed, is really, really difficult for for all the artists to understand. We can teach them the basic idea of materials, but we cannot teach them all those like technical papers, get a degree of math in order to doing shading. So that's why we have a secret weapon called shader package. Basically, we put all those like researchers, smart people's ideas, all the ideas, like the Naughty Dog people, like Colin gave me the idea of stitches, and we put all together in a black box, and the output will be just the layers people understand. Like we can turn on mud, and then we can turn on fabric. We can turn on sand, as you guys just see. It's so easy, you just turn it on and adjust the aging, and boom, the final result, really cool. And this is some example of the shader package we have. You can see the differences between those fabric. The first one looks really silky, and second one is like a t-shirt. Third one is like cargo pants. And we put all those in the shading, in the fabric shaders, and the artist can just eyeball it, adjust it, and the result will look really realistic, I hope. And this is the skin shader. You can see the first one, like the skin pools. I know Frank has some details on the pores and stubbles and the wrinkles on the model, but beyond that, we have micro details which make you feel like skin. And the second one was when he was getting sweaty, how they look like. And third one was when you zoom out, you can see. Frank already showed it before. Oh, can we play the second video? Thank you. And this is how the artist can turn on different layers of materials. Some dirt, and some dead leaves, and a bunch of wetness, and water. And down the fabric details, and we adjust the size. And then we make it adjust the aging of the fabric, add some small wrinkles, if you guys can notice, and some sand, and some wetness. Oh, stitches, yeah. the letters, we adjust the size of the letter detail and add some wear and tear and adjust the specular and turn on the stitches. Turn on the stitches. Okay, yeah. Now we adjust the color of the eyes. We adjust the pupils. And we turn on the occlusion, the shadow of the lashes, and the reflection. And the eye look realistic now. Okay, that's me. And the next will be the lead character TD. We'll tell you guys how we make Drake move.
Hello. So you can go ahead and play the first video. So as a rigger, I mainly focus on working with other artists and trying to figure out how to make Drake move and make all the aspects of Drake move. So me and my team put joints inside of the models that will actually let Drake's arms move, his fingers move, his whole body move. And one of the other things that we do is we look for every aspect that we can try to make Drake feel like he's part of his environment and all the things that move. One of the next gen things that we wanted to try to look at is how could we make his shirt feel like it was actually alive and part of the environment. So here you can see that the wind is blowing on Drake's shirt. This wind is actually the same wind that's affecting the trees and Drake. So when the trees have less wind, Drake will have less wind, and when they have more, so will he. Next video. So I wanted to show you that Drake also has wind on his chest hair and on his collar, and you can actually see how the wind affects him there too. We went to that much detail. Take that, NeoGAF. Next video.
We all know chest hair, needs to blow in the wind. That's next gen stuff right there.
Here is the hair of Drake also blowing in the wind. Each individual piece of hair actually has its own wind. You can play that video again. And the wind that affects the trees, again, will affect his hair. You can replay the video just one more time. No. So it's a subtle thing, intentionally, kind of like as Ashley talked about. We want every little thing that we add to be subtle, but to add life to the character, but not go so far as that it will make the character stick out and feel unnatural.
One of the interesting part in this is actually the intensity of the wind also affect on Drake's hair. So when the when more get windier, and the Drake's hair will move more accordingly. So it's really cool tech that we have now.
Yeah. All right, next video. So in this scene, Drake is getting thrown into the waterfall, and this enemy slams him up against the water, and this shows how the water actually affects Drake's hair. Not only when the hair leans over, the weight of his hair is actually leaning left to right by the gravity of his head leaning left to right. So you can actually see it's very subtle, but his hair is actually affected by even the position of his body and how his head's tilting left to right, and the shader on the hair also changes, so it looks like his hair's hanging down, so it's less poofy and more close to his head.
Also get wet.
Yeah, it got wet. I think Drake says something about that, something about Kitty got wet or something. Yeah. All right, next video. So in this part, I wanted to show off how the water actually affects his pants as well. It actually affects everything on him. So when he gets in and out of the water, it actually will affect the shader and make it more shiny and all the fancy stuff that Yibing does to make it look awesome. every aspect of these, often we're working back and forth with many other people, many other departments. So like the first with the wind, we have an artist that works also on shaders, like Yibing, that his name's Andrew, and it works on moving the mesh, which allows us to do the wind. In this case, I think actually Yibing worked on this, the shader. So next video. I also wanted to point out, even though this isn't Drake himself, but Drake is affected by the environment around him. So when he is, oh, no, sorry, this is a different thing. This is where when the water actually hits him, if he goes under the waterfall, it's really subtle, but the water seeps into his shirt, and very, very slowly. It's a pretty cool effect. It's very subtle, but if you pay really close attention, and you fly the camera up close, which you can't really do in game, but you can actually see as the water seeps into the shirt, which is really, really cool. This actually happens in the demo that you guys saw, if you saw it, which I hope you did. Okay, the next video. So this I was going to point out, as Drake walks around, he is affected by the plants, or he affects the plants, I mean. And this is actually a lot of the same tech that we used on the plants is the tech that we used on his shirt. And that was, the plants actually inspired Drake. So when we saw how the plants were moving, that was actually what got me going over to the artist and talking to him, being like, how could we actually do some of this stuff to affect Drake's shirt and try to make him be moving in the wind and things like that, like the plants. Okay, next video. In this video, I wanted to show you how this is Drake, Uncharted 3 on the right, and Drake from Uncharted 4 on the left. And I wanted to show you how much we've improved on the expressions, show you side by side the fidelity and detail that's gone onto this. We've gone to great lengths to try to make it feel like his skin is more organic, more of him moves, and you can see how there's a lot more detail in the lips. You can see how even his cheeks are moving, and even moving his jaw left to right. You can see just how organic it feels compared to our last version. Next video. So this is a crazy amount of expressions that Drake can do. Uncharted 3, we had 120 possible face poses. In Uncharted 4, we have 850 possible face poses. It's impossible to show you every single one, well, except it's not, because I'm doing it now really fast. These don't always move the teeth, so some of them look funny. But these are all can be combined in various ways, and I'm going to show you that next. So basically has 8 times the detail of face poses I did from the last game, which is quite a bit. Next video. So here I wanted to show you more in detail, just slowly going through some of the poses. Here on the right is like a control panel that the animators would use to animate Drake. It's broken up into different areas to help the animators find controls quickly. And as you can see, as Drake's opening his mouth, it's affecting his neck, it's affecting his jaw. Here we're layering on some raising up the lips and lowering the bottom of the lips. All this is broken up into very distinct muscle movements, which is very similar to how a real human face works. We've went to great lengths to try to make it feel like it is possible for the animator to make every possible face movement based on facial, realistic, real-world muscle movement. And it actually helps in guiding us in how we can make Drake feel more and more realistic. We have this where many face poses combine, like that was combining keeping the lips closed while opening the jaw. You kind of saw this when Frank showed earlier. This is where now when we would do an extreme expression like a stressful expression like this, you can actually affect his neck. We previously had nearly no movement in the neck on the previous Uncharted. This is a more complicated facial pose to make, the shush pose. This takes an incredible amount of detail to get a pose like this to work. Not always, may not always be appreciated, like if you were, but when you actually see a human talking, some of these things you need to be able to try to achieve them, but it's very difficult to get all that detail. And now on Uncharted 4 and with the power of the PlayStation 4, we're able to have so much more detail put into Drake. Here, just showing a lot of subtle movements that we have for the animators. We have everything from just little nose movements to being able to puff up his cheeks, so it feels like maybe he's holding his breath underwater, or maybe just filling his mouth with a little air or something. Okay. So here we just have him lowering his eyebrows, raising up his eyebrows. All these subtle movements. You can even see all the detail in the brows.
So the wrinkle map that I sculpt will go on the top of this mesh, basically. So to make it feel more alive, feel more natural when he is doing the expression.
Okay, next video. I want to show this real quick. Basically, also when we move the eyes, the animators basically can move the eyes around, and all of the eyelid movement is automated. So it makes it very easy for the animators to get their initial pose, and they can even close the eyelids and then continue to move it around. You can see subtle movements of the eyes affecting the eyelids. All right, so that'll be the end of our talk. I'd love to show you a ton more, but we only have so much time. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to step up to the mic.
Cool. We're going to have time for just a couple questions, unfortunately, here. Yeah, let's fire away here.
All right, so I just wanted to thank you guys for your work. Drake looks great. And when I say great, I mean sexy. So my question is, when you're designing a character with Drake or any character you might have designed, is there a discussion on how attractive a character should or shouldn't be?
This one? No. We'll definitely talk about, we'll have a lot of really detailed conversations about conventional beauty standards in games and, what makes somebody heroic versus not. So we definitely have those conversations. Funny story. I'm the first female concept artist to work on Drake, but I am not responsible for his low-cut Henley and his chest hair and his muscular pecs. That was actually Neil Druckmann that pushed that. So I just want to put that out.
Someone's recording this?
Sorry, Neil.
Thank you.
I have a technical question about when you were talking about the wrinkle maps. Are they specifically like multiple normal maps changing when it comes to wrinkles?
Yes. To answer your question, yes, that's multiple wrinkle and normal map on the top of it.
And also, what is the resolution of the normal map and textures and stuff like that?
1K.
1K? Okay.
I think I'm going to hop in because the other panels I've seen have been going back and forth. So the topology on that model, that's gorgeous. Congratulations on that. It looked really good. So say I were to put in an application to Naughty Dog for an internship or whatever. What are the skills that you're looking for in a modeler specifically, just to consider even?
Oh, this one doesn't work. Yeah, they're all live. Hey. Oh, okay. Sorry. I think in general, when it comes to topology, personally, I really like clean topology, obviously, if you look at any of that stuff. But one of the things we look for, I guess, when we're looking for people is, how well you guys really work with people, and just can we get along? Because we're going to be doing that a lot, obviously. during crunch and all those other times, you guys got to be able to handle each other. So yeah, having to deal with people in general and just having a good attitude, I think. I know sometimes we get applications and some people don't want to take the test and stuff like that. And the test is, not only does it help see, your ability, but it also helps sees if you're even willing to take the test, because a lot of people don't, and that already tells a lot about their character and, stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, being a team player is definitely one of the really important aspect that we see if we want to hire you. The other one is, I think this is depending on the company that you apply. For example, if you want to apply to Blizzard, then Blizzard have some special style, their own style. So same thing would be to Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog, our style is more realistic. We pay a lot of attention to. That is my son, by the way. Hey, Lucas. We pay a lot of attention to how you sculpting, texturing the facial stuff, because that's what we really focus on. So if you really want to apply Naughty Dog, you need to have a really good anatomy base of your sculpting, and your detail on the top have to be top-notch as well.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
This is a question for anybody. You talked about realism, but and this is just my interpretation, but you guys have always avoided the uncanny valley because you have a slight sense of stylism. And I was wondering, even though you're getting more realistic, how important, or if important at all, is that kind of dash of stylism to keep things particular?
I know exactly what you mean. I think it's always been a challenge to, stay away from the uncanny valley in general. That's especially noticeable on faces, and it's harder, I think, to make that not look creepy in any way. But I think being able to sculpt it, to a high realism in terms of, all the poor details and all that stuff, having good anatomy and stylizing the anatomy just slightly, not that it's, absolute photoreal, but just that it looked natural. Obviously, those feedback can come from everyone as well, and maybe Frank can talk more about how he stylized the face, or how he adds those just small elements of stylization to the face to not make it look, creepy or staying out of the uncanny valley. So
that's what I mentioned, that we don't really use scan data, because when you use scan data by yourself, you just basically fall into that. So what we ask for all of artists to do is we want artists to put in that artistic feeling of their own into our model. And that helps us a lot to give it a more stylized feeling into the realism that we're going to achieve.
Yeah. Cool. We have time for one more question on the left side. Andrew and everybody else in line, you can just come up towards the end and we'll field them.
How often has art and design been inhibited by technological difficulties? Like, how have you had to scrap a lot of good design or art elements because you didn't have the technology to work with it? Or conversely, have you had to write tools to incorporate really good ideas?
Colin will be the perfect one to answer this question.
I think that starts obviously from the concept stage, meaning, are you going to add certain elements to the characters that we can't yet do? We obviously have to speak with riggers and make sure it's possible to be able to do that kind of stuff. Let's say you want to add a jacket onto Drake. Like we need to know that we can rig it to move naturally and all these other things. So it starts from concept, then we have to make sure that people in the other pipelines can actually achieve it. But in terms of, there's a lot of things we can't do that we kind of have to scrap or rethink, based on technology and stuff like that. So I think in general, and that affects everything, not just model in general, which is what we focus on most, but that affects the actual game design as well. Maybe there's some things that we just can't do yet, like we want to make a mountain fall or something crazy. I don't know what's next in Uncharted, just saying. yeah, so in general, it's always, balance and act. So.
To be more specific, Colin is really talented, and we basically developed one technical point that we can actually make the clothing moving feel very natural. But just because some of technical difficulty that we have, all those ideas, even though we can kind of we know exactly how to do it, but we won't be able to put it in the game. And sometimes it's really frustrating, but as an artist in Naughty Dog, you just need to always work with what you have, because as a character artist in Naughty Dog, they gave us a lot of freedom to develop what we want to apply on the character, and we're really lucky to be in this company, and we really appreciate what we can do for the model. Thank you.
Awesome. So thank you, everybody, for coming out to this.
PlayStation